yeah, here we are, middle of Sherwood Forest, down the Old Eakring to Mansfield Road. It is a right of way. The council have tried to make it inaccessible, but to be quite honest with you, they're acting illegally because this is actually a road. So I've not been down here for years. There's a place we used to come and play on the bikes when we were much younger. Not when we were kids, when we were kids, just late teens, early 20s. And locally it's known as the Desert. And there's one guy that used to come and race his motocross bikes around here. Chris Walker raced in British Superbikes, World Superbikes, and he did MotoGP for a while as well. In my opinion, the best rider never to become world champion. So this is where we're going. Not really got the tyres for it. Whoa. No, not got the tyres for this at all. But I've started, so I'm going to finish. But yeah, just riding this road. Last time I came down here, I was in a Ford Ranger. I had my kids in it, and they just like going on adventures with Daddy too. Yep, I know she's a bit too big and a bit too heavy for this kind of stuff. Soft sand, especially with these shoes on. But we're getting through it. Yeah, somebody did describe this bike like the GS. That's basically a Range Rover, something that is capable of going off-road, but you shouldn't really. And yeah, I get where they're coming from, because every time I go off-road it really is a steady number. Like I say, it might be better with a different tyre on it, and for the winter I will put something on it that's a little more off-road orientated. I may even put a 50-50 tyre on it for the winter, see how it holds up. Well, a 50-50 pair of tyres. But yeah, the key when you're riding off-road on one of these is realistically gently. You know, observe what's coming up. Keep it moving. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to off-road mode. Put it on off-road mode. Just means that I've got the wheels will spin, and I would rather them spin, and the brakes will lock, and I would rather them lock when I'm riding off-road. I don't like, well, the reason they call it off-road mode and have all the electronics turn off, because it's bloody almost impossible to ride off-road with ABS and traction control on full. I do believe the new Tiger's got a 2 off-road settings, one as a novice setting, so you've got limited ABS and traction control, and then the other one being the same as this one is, so it's basically, it just turns all the electrics off. All the rider aids come off. So here we are going under this smelly, horrible bridge. And this is the edge of what we called the desert when I was a kid. It's through there. They've mounded it up and mounded it up so you can't actually get up there anymore, which is fine, because realistically, if you had an accident down here back in the day, you were in a lot of trouble. Unfortunately, there is just nowhere for the kids to ride dirt anymore. I think there are a few more sort of tracks where you pay for the day riding. There are a few more places like that available now. There were very few places. We just used to have to use farmers' fields. Luckily, I grew up in a very rural area. We lived in the cottages at the side of a farm. A lot of my friends, you know, lived on farms or had got fields for various pursuits, horses and trials riding. There was lots of woods around, and you know, it was a different world back then. We were allowed to do things. But yeah, this is the desert in Mansfield. It does look like they've probably almost, just see through there. We used to build our own tracks through there. Wasn't expecting to do any of this today, but I've just been to see some people that I knew that I did a bit of volunteering with. Just a charity that help people out with furniture and things. So yeah, let's have a look. We can see that is the desert. Old pit tips. And it's an old sand quarry, and the pit tips in the distance. Yeah, and this was the place that we used to come in the early 80s. Well, all the way through the 80s, really. We used to come down here, and you got to a point where there were a lot of 4x4s as well. In the 90s, we used to come down in the 4x4s. Yeah, some big ruts down there you don't want to get yourself into. I'm hoping that it sort of clears itself, and we've not got too much rubbish to deal with. Just too much dodgy surface to deal with as we get moving, as we get further through. As we get further through here, there's we're heading towards Mansfield, actually, from Eakring. It's what's called the Eakring Road. The council did at some point put a barrier up so you couldn't go along, you couldn't ride along it, and the good gentlemen at the Trail Riders Federation, the TRF, well, they took the council to court, and or threatened to, and that's all it took, and they took the barrier down, because it is, like I say, it's a byway. It's a road. It used to be the main road between Mansfield and Eakring, and I'm afraid what councils do is they act illegally. I know people are going down here and acting illegally. You see, we've got all of this tipping and things that are going along, but you know, the councils and the police and people like that, they're there to uphold the law. They're not there to break it. They can't break the law. And this is an old right of way. It's their job to police it, not to say, oh well, nobody's allowed down it. I think it's been a byway, it's been a right of way for many, many hundreds of years. And because of that, they are not allowed to close it. But yeah, you can see why they've got issues here, you know, people are abusing it, they're misusing this. It's always going to be the case. You're always going to get people who just push it to the limit and actually pass the limit. I mean, because it's disgusting this. I mean, absolutely disgusting. The amount of tipping and fly tipping. It's like, you know, there are council tips. Just take your shit to the council tips. Oh, I hope the camera's still on. Oh, she's on. Yeah, it's getting a bit better now. A bit more rideable. Feet are on the pegs. Yeah, it's gravelly. I know a lot of people don't like riding on this kind of stuff, but me, I don't mind. And then we're back onto tarmac. There's the golf course. I don't think that one opens anymore. I think that the golf course is actually closed. Oh no, it looks like it's open. Oh, I don't know. I think they may be building some houses down here. Oh, I just cut through it. Yeah. So yes, that's it.